Hey, what's going on, gang? I wanted to make another video today. I wanted to do a brief walk around of this. You see if you can recognize this motor. It's a 4.3 V6, and you recognize the placement of the receiver dryer. You know that this is a Chevrolet. It's a Chevy S10, the GMT 365 platform. Actually, this is the Oldsmobile. See it? You see it? Flash there. See it? It's the Oldsmobile version of this truck. I bought this like 7 years ago, 2014. I was going to make it a project truck. I just never got around to working on it because I had other stuff going on. Because I mean, this is not the only one I had. I had three of these. I had the Chevy and the GMC. My neighbor had given me the Chevrolet. He said he couldn't get it to run. If you can make it run, you can have it. I bought the GMC for my birthday. Like, I don't know. And by the way, that GMC was a Diamond Edition, so it was the first. It was the first Envoy, 2001 Diamond Edition Jimmy Envoy. You know, so I wanted to do a walk around, a little brief presentation on this thing, but I can't do it right now. So basically, I'm just going to show you what I've done with this thing so far since I've had it, at least from the engine side of things. Because when I got it, if you notice on these Chevrolet engines, you always develop an intake manifold leak. I mean, I've done like three of these so far, so it's always par for the course. You're going to get an intake manifold leak no matter what. All right. Now, there was another thing with this car that what would happen is, see the fan there? It's a plastic fan they put on this generation, right? So the fan would interfere with the shroud. It would not went out here down the sides, I think. You know. So when you start the car up and it got warm, the fan would rub against the shroud. And I thought the car had been in an accident or something, and then that's why it was interfering with it. No, but when I went underneath the car, the guy put the transfer case in there but didn't put the gasket on it. So all the oil had leaked out of the rear of the transmission onto the motor mount, the transmission motor mount. And so the transmission motor mount was all soft and gummy. So once I put a new motor mount in it, then the fan had stopped hitting the radiator shroud, which was cool, you know. So I mean, that dude, I don't know. A lot of these people, they do what kind of raggedy repairs they want just to sell a car. So I mean, I didn't pay a lot for it. This thing was only $700, you know. So what I had done is I replaced the blower fan over here because this car has automatic climate control. I replaced it like 3 times. And then I wound up, that's the original fan motor back in there, because with the one I had replaced it with, it lasted for like a year or two. You know, I hadn't been driving it, but when I went over there, then the motor had seized up. So this was close to the winter time, so I had to put the old one back in. Now that old one is no good. You know, that it makes that that dull sound when you turn the fan speed up, so the bearing is bad. I was going to go to the junkyard and buy another one, but the cost of going to the junkyard and buying one versus going on Amazon and getting the same thing, still $30. Like I said, I did the intake. There was a problem with this one. When I was at the junkyard, I grabbed several injector packs. So, you know, because for this car, what they use are spider injectors. Let me see if I can get a shot of those. But the spider injectors are way back here. You know, let me see here, right here under this, under this fuel rail here. There's spider, well, they call them poppet valves, but we all know what them spider injectors. So what I did was, I had purchased three different, you know, it's from the junkyard, so they were salvage. So I purchased three of them. I think they're like $10 for the whole spider assembly. And then when I put the intake back on and I started the car up, injector number 4 wasn't firing. So then I replaced it with the whole pack that I had gotten from the junkyard. And when I plugged that one in, injector number 3 wasn't firing. So what I did was, you know, I got a pair of needle nose and I just pulled the injectors out and started swapping them. And now I got 6 functional injectors. Okay. What else did I do? Well, belts, but that doesn't count anything. I mean, because the car was relatively solid, man. It just had some minor issues. I did the brake booster in the master cylinder. All right, and also when I was in there, I ruptured one of the brake lines going to the rear. Now you got to be careful with this car and these brake lines, man, because that's what happened on my Jimmy. I was working upstate in Albany, and I blew both the front and the rear brake line at the same time. So this right here is the brake line that goes to the rear. So the entire rear brake line has been replaced. So uh, everything else, that's pretty much. I mean, anybody who knows these 4.3s knows that they are a child of the 350. So, you know, all the parts pretty much are the same. They use the same part number for the water pump, the same part number for the alternator, the fan. Well, this is a Vortex, so once you have a Vortex, you're gonna have the same fan. They use the same bolts in the intake, same bolts for the AC compressor. You know, same cooling fin, same ignition coil. Only thing really gonna be different would be the computer, because this computer is programmed for a V6, and that program in the Vortec 5 liter, or Vortec 350, I mean, because there was no 5 liter, but the Vortec 350, still, the computer has just been pinned for run for 8 cylinders instead of 6, but generally the same. What else? Oh, this radiator. I did this radiator. It's another thing I got from the junkyard also. This radiator was leaking, so I think at the junkyard it was 30 bucks. And for those of you that know what a new radiator costs, that was a good deal. These headlights, I took these headlights out of a GMC. Can you see them? Yeah. I took these out of a Sonoma pickup, because the ones that were in here, right? The ones that were in here, let me see. I'm just showing you the engine because it is hot out here, and I'm using this hood for shade. Right? So the ones that were in here, the headlights that were in here, I took out of these, I took out of this, and I put it in the Envoy, because the Envoy, for those of you that don't know about the Envoy, or the GMC Jimmy Diamond Edition Envoy, for those of you who don't know, that car uses HID headlights, and they have a ballast resistor bolted under the headlight. Now the thing is, those are expensive, especially when you burn out the ballast resistor, and I think they wanted like $130. you know. So I was bringing the car to get inspection, and what happened was, one of my yeah, it was the left side. It was this side over here. It was the left side headlight was out, and I was like, oh, I can't. That's automatic fail right there. If your headlight is out, then I take the thing apart. It's got a ballast resistor. I don't want this. No, that's too much money right there. So what I did was, you have to dig all the way into the wiring harness to go on way back here on behind the bumper where the wiring harness is, so you can get the basic positive negative wires and splice in a regular headlight socket. And then I put the original headlights that were in this car, I put it in the Jimmy. Okay, so that means I needed headlights for this one. That meaning I wasn't using it, it was being stored up for a while. I put the Jimmy headlights in here, but they wouldn't work because, also another thing on the ballast high definition headlight is that they use a different molding for the headlight socket. So you really couldn't put an H4 or an H7 bulb in there. So I got these from a Sonoma pickup. All these headlights are interchangeable. This grill right here, I got this from the junkyard too. I think this was 20 bucks. This grill. I took it off another Blazer that was up in there. It was a Blazer that was up in there, and I think this whole thing was $20, man. So, the LED lights, I got those off of eBay, but just they're not very good though, because you can tell this one is cloudy, this one is clear. I think only 2 of the LEDs light up in this one, and I think maybe 4 or 5 in that one. So, not very reliable are those eBay made in China LEDs. But I bought a second set. I just have to pull the bumper out. You pull the bumper out, we have them wired behind, because you see the wires went behind it, and I'll just splice into that, because this thing also came with halogens down below, but I'm not using that socket right there That's why those are empty. I might wire those in later. Might make those additional turn signals. Have no idea yet. I'm still, you know, I was going to give this to my niece, but she wound up getting something better. So I was going to give it to my son, but I don't think he wants something like this, because I think he wants a Durango. So I'll just fiddle around with this for a while. I mean, and on the interior, all I did was replace the radio and the instrument cluster. Not really a lot to tell in there. I tinted the windows in the back just so I can, I tinted the windows in the back. I would show them to you, but dang, it's hot out here. Let me go so I can show them to you. All right. See, I tinted the windows in the back here for privacy. In New York, they're supposed to be 70% here, so, but they already had a natural tint on it from the factory. So I just laid up a 35% on top of that. So whatever the natural tint was, I think that was 70%, and I put a 35% on it, So I took the tires off the GMC because I was trying to do something because the way the cars are colored. Oh, and there's a thing I wanted to tell you. I had made a video before about the junkyard being a great source of high quality OEM parts for very low money. Man, I want to show you something. So I get over there to the junkyard and I win the raffle. So they have 3 of these over there. I win the raffle for $500, right? So what happened was this window right here was broken. It was on the other side. I wanted to show you, but there are too many shadows over there, so it's going to look too dark. So I'll show you the other side of the car. So this window was broken right here. Now, you get this window replaced at the glass man. He'll charge you probably $80, $100 to do the window. $80 to $100 to do this window right here. So I win the raffle at the junkyard. $500 gift certificate. So I walk around the junkyard, and they have 3 of these S10s, this color. That's a champagne gold or something like that. I don't know. For those of you that know this, you'll know the color. Champagne gold, anyway. So, champagne gold. But each one of them has a different pinstripe, right? So the GMC's got one pinstripe, the Chevrolet's got a different pinstripe, and the Oldsmobile has this pinstripe. So I walked the whole yard, and I found another Oldsmobile this color, same pinstripe. So I just took the whole door off the car, put it in the wagon, took it to the front of the store, took it to the cashier. This door was $35 for the whole thing. You see? Glass included. Glass included, the whole door. All right? All I had to do was take off the interior panel to make sure that I wasn't smuggling any additional parts in it. So that's what I'm telling you. The junkyard, if you live close to one, or you pull it, and you have a relatively, late model car, not too old, but not too young either, source of some high quality parts. I wanted to show you under the car, but I can't do that right now because it is filthy around here, and I don't really want to. And it's hot too. So, but I wanted to show you the transmission, the transfer case. This came with a new process 236, I believe, because each one of them had a different transfer case. It depended on which rear end you had and which model you had. Because on the Oldsmobile you got automatic 4-wheel drive. But on the GMCs and the Chevys, you got push button. So there was a different transfer case. So you either had I guess it was a 233, a new process 233, a new process 234, or 236. All right. You'd find the same thing. You're going to find the same thing in the Cadillacs, and you're going to find the same thing in your the Yukons, the Yukon Denali's. The Chevrolet is going to have something different unless you had an LTZ. Most of the Chevrolets are going to have a 230. I mean, the full-size ones also. So there's only, because it's based on the amount of torque that you're going to get on a full-size. And if you're looking because they're all computer controlled with buttons and vacuum actuators, it's going to be like a 230 in that family. If you're talking about a manually lock-in transfer case, you're going to be talking like a 203, 206. But then again, that's for more rugged work. You'll find those in the Dodges and the old K5 Blazers from the 70s and the early 80s, the ones that the military uses, you know, stuff like that. Uh, Rear end in this thing, this has a G80 rear end that is positive traction, and it also has a 373, which is, you know, it's important. No, not really important, but to differentiate it from the Chevrolet that I had, the Chevrolet had a 342 and it had a GU6 rear end. All right, so this one has G80, and I don't know the code for 373, but the Oldsmobile and this one have the same rear end. The Chevrolet had a 342. Not saying all of them, but that was that one that car had. So the acceleration would have been quicker in that one. I gave that one to my brother because I really didn't want it, and you know, because it had a lot of. It wasn't Bondo. It just had a lot of that primer on the back of the car, and so you know, it was free. I didn't sell it to him. I just gave it to him. You know, we went through a whole hassle getting the title and all that because people at the DMV are not very helpful, man. So anyway, this little brief video I did on this one. I'll do a video on the Jimmy when I go out to it this weekend. I really want to get something else, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I want to get a Chrysler something. I mean, I like those minivans. I should do a walk around in that minivan too because I really like that. I think it's the third generation minivan. I think it's the third generation Dodge Grand Caravan. I like those. Those cars are very comfortable. That's the thing about these Chevy S10s. They're not very comfortable in the back seat. I would not, if you're an adult, I wouldn't advise it. No, it's not really worth it. It's very cramped back there. But if you're in a front seat, it's moderately comfortable, man. I mean, depends on the terrain, I guess. But I was going to use this one, you know, as an Overlander, because this one is a very inexpensive car. You can buy these things. Like I said, I paid $700 for this. Oh, see the dent in the door right there? But that's nothing because the door still opens and that's basically cosmetic. Doesn't inhibit the car from functioning. That's the door. That second door right there. That's the one that I paid $35 for, just because I didn't want to pay the guy $80 to $100 to replace the window. But you know, I'm saying you can get these things right here for almost no money. I know when I say that I mean $1,000 or less. You know, if I paid $700 for this one, I paid $800 for the Jimmy. I'm telling you, you can get these cars because these are great Overlanders because it's a General Motors car. And that's another reason I wanted to show you the underside of the car is to show you that the 365, I'm not really sure about the 330, but I believe it is because the 330 came after this 2003 and up, 2003 to 2010, I think, right? So the 365 has a box frame, right? I got a full-size Suburban, doesn't have a box frame, right? I got the GMT 440 from 1993. I'll show you that one later on, maybe later on in the week. But the thing is, this one's got a box frame, which means it's very rugged. All you have to do is, well, that rear end is a 7.5-inch rear end, so you're going to have to replace that with something more durable. Well, if you're going to run it on the track, you're definitely going to need maybe a 10 bolt, GM 10 bolt, GM 12 bolt, 8 3/4, something like that. Something that you can get from, I don't know, man. You have to get it from, because I'm trying to find another. You got to get it from this chassis right here. And I mean, this chassis is also the same thing as the Astro van. That's the rear end you're going to have to take. You're going to have to take the rear end from an Astro van. Now, the difference between this motor right here, the difference between this motor and the Astro van is that the Astro van, it was designed for more torque. So if you're going to build something, the Astro van has a better 4.3 V6 than the S10 does. Because that van, when General Motors designed that van, it was to be for a myriad of uses, and so therefore they didn't want to have the thing be underpowered in any way. Now, what you're going to find between this one and the Astro van, dang, I'm going into 20 minutes. I don't want to make it that long. So I'll stop right here, and then I'll make a brief video about the differences between this and the Astro van.